meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bart, there's informed me that we have an audio problem. We still having problems, Bart?
Yeah, I don't think anything is coming through the speakers, so Rose is on the phone, but I don't know if we can hear her.
Rose, can you hear us? Yell, hear us.
Rose, can you hear us?
Yes, I could.
No? Okay.
Okay, I'll deal with it. Okay,
We budgeted a new sound system.
no kidding. Roll call, please.
Coe,
Here.
Colosimo,
Present.
Hunt,
Here.
Wilczewski. Here. Readers. Monkesser.
Here.
Spears.
Present.
Teeling. Here. Quorum is established.
Any amendments to tonight's agenda? We have no presentations, no public hearings. Do we have any citizen comments on items that are on the agenda this evening? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Wilczewski.
Aye.
Spears.
Aye.
Monkesser.
Aye.
Coe.
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
Hunt.
Aye.
Passes.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting of June 24th, 2014 and July 8th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any comments, questions, corrections on the minutes? Yes, sir.
I have two questions on the July 8th set, page 2. Under the general obligation bonds, there's a point in here where it states Alderman Funkhauser asked for clarification of why there was such a reduction on the estimate, and it stipulates his question was answered. Can we put the answer in there?
Sure.
And then the very end, it has the motion from Larry Kopp, but it mentions that there was no second and no action on that.
What was that?
It's the very last part of that same section. There was no so moved or second. For procedure, is that all that needs to be in there, Kathy? Since Mayor Pro Tem made a motion, but there was no second on that.
Wasn't there a second in the meeting? There should be a second as the record, if you can locate it, but as for an amendment.
No, he entertained a motion and no one
No one seconded.
moved on.
Okay.
Right. He
No one-
entertained the
okay.
motion.
Oh, okay, that was the motion.
So no motion was made.
Okay.
It really, it should reflect no motion was made.
If we could just clarify. Thank you. That's it.
Anything else on minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, bills for payment, $1,120,456.71. Moving on to mayor's report. I will entertain a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds, alternate revenue source of the United City of Yorkville, Kendall County, Illinois, in one or more series in an aggregate principal amount of $7,885,000 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Rob, you want to give us a quick rundown, just so it's in the minutes?
Okay, so the last meeting, we had actually reduced the principal amount on the Game Farm Road project to accommodate a tighter estimate of the actual construction cost of the project. So if you'll notice, the ordinance in the packet actually reads the total principal amount. Remember, there's Game Farm Road and then 2 refinancing bonds in there of about $8.2 million. The motion you just read is actually for $7.885 million. We have Kevin from Spear Financial that can comment on the actual mechanisms that allow us to do that. But in general, we're still going to be receiving the same dollar amount for the construction estimate for Game Farm Road. We're still going to be receiving the same dollar amounts for the refinancing, so those are all taken care of. And the total difference between what the bids came back at and what's in our budget is about $150,000. So that's a savings over a 20-year period, which is good. But the mechanism that allows the principal to be lowered revolves around the bond buyers actually paying a higher than average interest rate, so they're actually giving us money. So we tell them we need $8 to do the Game Farm Road project. They're going to give us $8, but they're only going to make us repay $7.80 in the principal. So that's kind of the way that works. Is the interest rate is so good for them through whatever Kevin called it high finance mechanisms that they can agree to a lower return principal amount because they're paying a higher interest rate plus some other fees over time. So we will still have money to do the project as we had estimated at the last meeting. It's just the principal amount ends up being slightly lower.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
The payback schedules, is this the correct schedule on page 2 where it begins at $135,000 next year?
Yeah, those are the final debt service schedules, correct?
And that's for 2014A, is that is it being broken up further than that, or?
Yeah, the 2014A is just for the Game Farm Road bond. If you look closer, you'll see, or you look more into the packet, you'll see the debt service schedule for the 2014B, which is one of the refi bonds, and the 2014C, which is the other refi bonds.
That's what I wanted to see.
Okay.
Okay, there's 2014C. My concern was with the repayment schedule that I didn't want to do to future councils what previous councils have done to us. And this is the first time we got the payment, the schedule's just 5 minutes ago, so.
Right.
I wanted to check on that, where we pay $20,000 this year, and then 10 years from now, $1.8 million is due. So, all right. So it's A, B, and C, correct? Nothing else?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Cox.
Aye.
Steers.
Aye.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Lukasser.
Nay.
Kaczynski.
Aye.
Teeling. Aye. Koch.
Aye.
Okay, next I'll entertain a motion. No, I will not. No motion is requested. There is about the cable consortium. I guess we're going to carry this over for 2 weeks. This did not come out of committee.
Correct. It was placed on the agenda in anticipation of a favorable vote to accelerate the process.
Okay, so this, does anyone want to talk about the cable consortium, or just let it go back to committee and discuss there?
If we can, Bart and I were talking beforehand, so if we can just kind of get a quick update on that.
Sure. So the actual resolution is to designate the consortium as an agent for negotiations. So since we've postponed it a month, I'm the agent for negotiating the cable consortium for the franchise agreement until we actually approve this resolution. There is a meeting tomorrow in the chamber that the consortium is going to put on as part of the franchise renewal agreement process, which would basically, they've already put out the notice, invites residents to come and talk about their service with Comcast, what kind of programming they want. It's an introduction of the cable consortium public access rights and the studios at Tupperville-Bomsey. And so that's all still going to occur no matter that we've postponed contemplation of this ordinance or resolution for another month. And so next month, an administration committee hopefully will have some definitive answers that were proposed at the administration committee from the consortium on articles of incorporation, how their finances are set up, how bylaws will be approved in the future, and also maybe a little bit of a rundown on what's been happening there just with everything. So with how many people are using it, et cetera. So hopefully hopefully we'll have a much more detailed update for everybody as well.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
I was under the impression that they have always negotiated with Comcast.
They have.
This is just like, was just like paperwork they needed to have it.
It is. There were some questions posed at admin about what the organization is doing and has done, and whether, not necessarily whether we're going to stay with the consortium going forward, although I think that's going to come up here in the next few months. But the admin committee did not want to approve the resolution without knowing the
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
To that question a little more directly, the agreement we had in place was for the past 12 years. So paperwork-wise, they just continued through year after year, so that's why it's never been before us. And that expired, so that's why it's now come up. And last year, some of these issues came up when I sat in on some of these meetings, and they haven't resolved them, so that's what we're trying to just get to the bottom.
Anything else? Okay, well, I will be back at admin committee. Moving on to Public Works Committee report. Our Public Works Committee Chairman like to take that?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the economic development program agreement with IDOT for intersection improvements at Route 47 and the Wrigley Facility Drive, and authorizes the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second. This is a portion of the Wrigley incentive agreement. This is for the intersection that comes out of Wrigley, what's the name of the street, Wrigley Drive, is it?
It's just Access Drive.
Yeah. But this was huge, and the governor's office and Secretary Schneider, IDOT, were very, very helpful in getting this done. I know when Wrigley announced to their people that they were expanding in Yorkville, and talked about how helpful the city and state were in the process. This got the most applause from all their employees, because they talk about sometimes risking their life to get out of that place. So that's huge. I mean, the state's going to pick up 100% of the cost. So very nice incentive. Any comments or questions on? Yes, sir.
I might just add, I think in Public Works, we talked about the future planning of FATs and road length. Is that true? It might come afterward, we said, and so you can get the intersection now instead of us putting it in down the road.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a win-win all the way around. All right, nothing else? Roll call, please.
Cook,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Pelosito,
Aye.
Nocasio,
Aye.
Krasinski,
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
No EDC report, no public safety, no admin. From the Park Board, I will entertain a motion to award the bid for Grand Reserve Park B improvements to Wilkinson Excavating in the amount of $77,860 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Pelosito,
Aye.
Nocasio,
Aye.
Krasinski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Pat.
Aye. Moving on to Plan Commission. I'll entertain a motion to approve an ordinance approving a special use for a daycare center in Lot 6 of Kendall Crossing and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second. Comments, questions? Yes, sir.
Just curious, how much bigger is this new facility than the one that's been presently in, do you know?
I don't know the difference
The
between.
new one, Larry, is about 10,000 square feet, so it's almost double the size.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just for the record on this one, during the committee meeting, I did not support this one. I didn't think that this was quite the right fit for this area. It's a good business to have in town. I'm glad that they're expanding, but for the theater property and the surrounding businesses, this is one that I felt wasn't quite the best fit here for a special use. So I will not be voting in favor of this.
I think it's a nice business to generate some traffic there, you know. Yes.
I don't have a problem with the project per se, but with some pending litigation, I kind of would like 1 and 3 to be tabled until we can talk about our city attorney about some common threads that are in the type of project. So I don't know how I feel about them.
So are you making a motion to table? Well, you'll have to take 3 when we get to it, but 1 is in front of us right now.
Can we clarify that? We couldn't quite catch it. Was Mr. Rolfe talking about the sign or the special use?
The special use, I believe, right?
My issue was there was I wanted to see from a legal standpoint on another issue too that I don't know if it's a common thread, if it's a problem or not. And without talking with Kathy, our attorney, that I don't have a problem after that.
Related to litigation.
Yeah.
Should we pass it to the end of the agenda?
We could,
We're going to have our executive session, we can.
Right.
We're going to have an executive session on litigation.
Right.
So we're
Then
going to
you can raise
discuss
your
it.
concerns and see if
Yeah.
they're clarified, and then
Yeah, we would obviously be happy to do that, answer any questions there are, but we're under time deadlines, so people are in at a certain time, so we would like to keep that moving. Sign one doesn't cause any problem, this one would, so we'll hang around. Thanks.
All right, so you're okay with Ken just putting this till the end of the meeting? And then you can voice your concerns in executive session?
Yeah.
Everyone okay with that?
yes.
Okay, that's what we'll do then. Okay, so moving on, I'll entertain a motion to approve an ordinance amending the Yorkville zoning ordinance by adopting new regulations for wind energy systems and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute. Someone's got to like windmills.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second? Did you second it? Okay. Comments or questions on this zoning ordinance adaptation? Yes, sir.
I'm not a big fan of windmills. Everybody knows that. I see Ms. Sussage looking at me with a look of disdain from the audience as I make that statement. Obviously, I think this should have been in front of EDC to kind of discuss. 175-foot windmills. I'm not voting for that right now. This goes to a vote. We need to talk about that in committee and discuss some of these things. I think they're inefficient. I think they're an eyesore. I don't want them within city limits. There's a whole laundry list of things I wish to discuss. So if I got this placed in my head and I have to vote tonight, I will, and my vote will be nay. I would prefer to put this in committee, but I will save that motion until others have had the opportunity to speak.
Is this a time-sensitive issue?
It is. The reason why, actually, this chapter was going to be part of the comprehensive zoning code update, which will be brought to you within the next month or so. This section asked to be put forward because of the school district just received an award for a grant to install one, and we wanted to be good civic neighbors and allow them to go through the process of the amended code rather than our existing code, which has a lot of inconsistencies on the process. Just to address your concerns, Alderman Colosimo, our research has found that over 10,000 small wind energy systems have been installed in residential and business zoning districts just in the U.S. in 2010 alone.
Small.
That's
the operative word.
But they're small, and these are considered small.
175 feet?
Yes, those are small.
Our definition of small is clearly different.
And small wind energy system doesn't necessarily relate to the height, it relates to the output. So,
So if it's 300 feet and puts out 5 kilowatts, it's a small.
it would be inefficient if it was that was that tall and put out that amount of kilowatts. Small wind energy systems are considered to be 1.5 kilowatts to about 10 kilowatts, 10 or 15 kilowatts, which is what we're regulated under the small wind energy system. Then you have the larger ones, which you would which you would consider what you would see down the highway, which would be at that height of 175. These would be special uses. And in regards to the entire chapter, it addresses more than just wind energy systems, which is what's being addressed now in our code, but solar as well. We are recommending that solar, the building mounted ones, be permitted outright in all districts, but the wind energies would be special uses in all districts. So there's a process that would go by. 175 would be the max. Typical ones for home would range between 50 and, well, 30 to 50 feet. You get 30 to 50 feet. You could have some as high as 80. Again, that's a special use, and it would have to meet the setback requirements. So we're proposing a setback requirement of 110% of the height. And we're also requiring that they not be within not only property lines, but any easements and any sidewalks, so that if there's any breaking of the system and it falls, that it would not impact those locations.
Is there any reason to make this time sensitive in light of the fact that the school district hasn't even applied to us yet?
Actually, no. We had anticipated the school district was going to apply simultaneously with the adoption, but since we're actually moving this section forward for next month at a public hearing as part of the comprehensive zoning ordinance, we can hold it off as well.
And it doesn't put us in any disadvantage to not have this approved when they apply?
No, if they apply and they make the August, we can always make the conditions of their special use stipulated to what we would adopt in August if the city council would adopt this ordinance.
So if it's special use, each application would have to be approved by the city?
Absolutely, it will come before Plan Commission and City Council. And notification would be sent to all neighboring property owners within 500 feet.
Well, just my position, I mean, I still think it needs to be discussed. Just for clarification, I have no issue with the solar panels. I like solar panels. I think every house should have one. But the windmills, I really would like to discuss before we push this forward.
Chris? Yeah, there are quite a few items I was talking with Christy, I'm talking more about some of these issues. There are probably a dozen different things that I have out of the 4 different types of systems that are in here. I would like to see this go back to EDC to discuss it at that level, you work out some of the nuances, since this didn't go through the process of committee. We could do it here, but I think it would be better to sit down and take a little more time.
Absolutely.
Actually, it is going before EDC. It's a comprehensive part in the beginning of August. And for clarification, the zoning commission spent about 4 months on this section. So it wasn't just written by staff. We did have professionals come in and do a presentation on it, and we did have model ordinances from other communities and from the Small Wind Certification Council. So
The school hasn't applied, but do we know any particulars how tall they're talking?
yes, in July they were supposed to apply. They missed the deadline, and we extended the public hearing to August, and we gave them a deadline of this Friday to have their application in. So we will know by Friday if they are moving forward into August. Plan Commission, which I believe would be August 13th.
We don't have any hint of the height that they're...
They're looking at 70 feet.
Just a little bit off topic. I mean, it's on topic of windmills. When we originally did the ordinance, I just remember reading some information, and I don't know if this is true or if you would know or be able to verify it, is I just remember hearing that the government was going to require local governments to have, you know, an alternate source of energy at some point in like the future. Is this like actually true?
Possibly. I don't know if that's coming in the short term or long range. I think it's best in our interest to be ahead of those issues.
Well, that's my point. I agree with that, and that's why I just remember hearing that. I don't know where it's at. It's not.
There's nothing on any of the municipal radar screens.
I just was curious where that was.
I too would like to add this to the EDC. That's especially it's Owen Postman, myself, that's our ward. I don't know if anyone even talked to the residents around the school there that, because this would be in their backyard.
They would have to be notified by next Friday.
But there's never been no hearing or anything like that.
Because they haven't applied. When they apply, then the hearing is set. We did have a public hearing scheduled. They missed the deadline, so we just continued it. So it wasn't paper, actually.
So just to be clear, this would set up the process by which the school district would apply for the
Right.
special use. It doesn't give them the approval to actually put it out.
Correct.
Among other things. And it's a very broad ordinance amendment on wind energy systems.
One last thing. This is something with the school district, I had flagged this process, their application, their grant coming through. They were proceeding through with this, and this is in part, we contacted the school district, and that's why this was expedited to work with that one. They were planning to move forward with this without our inputs. Basically just moving forward, not thinking that they had to deal with us for the zoning. If I had been at the school district meetings, board meetings, this would have probably just gone through and we'd have caught it after the fact. So that's why we are pushing this, but I think we need to take some time to look at it. So I'll make a motion to table this back to economic. I'm sorry.
The private school going out there, didn't they propose too, they wanted to have some wind energy, windmills, and
It was part of their original proposal, never made the final cut for the
Correct,
agreement.
correct. It was taken out.
opposition?
There was discussion if that should have been part of the annexation agreement or should have been part of PUD process. So they opted to remove that as an accessory use for their service. So if they ever wanted to do a windmill, they would have to come back and go through the special use process.
Okay.
Correct.
I couldn't remember why I got. All right, thank you.
Are we required to allow windmills, or can we just ban them within municipal boundaries?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't.
If we're required
Can
to.
we look into that?
Yes, we can. I mean, I guess it would be difficult to ban without a showing of danger when you can't regulate it to alleviate danger, so it wouldn't be the
No higher
least.
than 5 feet. There you go.
You can
I
set the
wouldn't
criteria so
be
strict.
the least governmental regulation, you know, to protect safety, which is what we're obligated to do.
Well, let's
Well,
look at what we're
I will
required
do
to
it.
do and what we're not required to do.
I will.
Yes.
One more, when we looked at this ordinance originally, and I kind of remember something about inspections of these, are we going?
Yes, they are
Do we
required.
have to learn about these, and are people going to have to learn too?
Actually, they are required now to provide structural engineering, stamped by a structural engineer. And what we would do is what we've done in the past when we've had antennas installed on top of our water towers, we would send them to our consultant to review to make sure that they are accurate. They actually we're going one step further in this ordinance. Before, they would just have to have stamped plans. We're requiring soil analysis if they are larger or have a larger base, and that's something that most communities don't require.
That's initial installation. What do you do year after year to know that it's being maintained?
Yearly,
You
they're
don't have an accident.
right. Yearly, they're supposed to send in for an inspection, request an inspection. That's what we're putting in here as well. And we would go out.
Who would do that?
It would probably be somebody in our engineering department, or we could outsource that as well. We can find a professional
I
to
just
help.
said somebody who knows
Right.
is doing that.
Exactly.
Does our staff, are they going to have to learn about these?
No, I wouldn't anticipate our building inspector, unless it's structural. Other than that, we would probably outsource to our engineer or sub out to a professional to do the inspection.
Thank you.
Did you want someone make a motion to send it back to EDC?
I'll make a motion to table this back to EDC.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Cut.
Aye.
Closimo.
Aye.
Funkadzer.
Aye.
Wilczewski.
Aye.
Keeling.
Aye.
Coe.
Aye.
And Ken, you would also raise number 3 under Plan Commission,
Yeah.
move to the end. Everyone okay with that? No ZBA report, no city council report, city clerk's report, and community and liaison reports. One item under staff report, and someone is going to give us a bond and letter of credit reduction report.
Yeah, there's a written report in your memo. If anybody has any questions about any of the individual actions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? Any additional business?
Can I just add one
Yes,
item to
ma'am.
staff report? I invite all of you to attend tomorrow night's open house of the zoning ordinance, where you can look at each chapter and provide your feedback, especially on alternative energy systems. I would appreciate to have that feedback prior before we go to city council or to EDC.
And that is at the library,
At the library, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. at the library. Yes, ma'am.
This morning I got a call, I don't know if this is from the chief or Eric, from a citizen that was on 47, around 10 or after. The backup for raging waves was extensive. I don't go up there that time of day. Is that normal, or is there something off with the light, timing with the lights, or their process of getting people?
I drove by there.
Yeah, they said it was awful.
It was packed there though today.
Well, that's what I said, I guess it was like 90, so they were just concerned it was just not, they could not move through there, it was all backed up. So I didn't know if the lights were off, or what the problem was for backing up traffic. Guess it was backed up to, would that be 30 over there?
Yeah, we can talk to somebody about the timing with the lights, but like I said, it's a busy day over there.
Right, that's what I told them, I'm like, it's busy.
Yeah, she called me up there and said it was a madhouse, but I imagine that's just the issue of people turning out and running in there.
I know sometimes the light timing gets off, I'm just, something to look into. Thank you.
Before we leave that topic, Rich, last year we talked about an emergency exit plan for that place. And I know Randy or some of his staff was supposed to get together with you guys. Did that ever happen?
Yes.
Okay.
The security did meet with us, and they've actually worked a lot better for us this year.
Okay.
Not just emergency fix, but just general, problems they have out there. They were very proactive with people causing problems.
All right.
They actually had their own security staff out there now too.
So what is the protocol? Because I was there one time when they had to, there was a pack like this and they had to exit everyone in a hurry. And they had to wait for that light to change and they couldn't get all the people out. I mean, it took over an hour to get everyone out.
If that happens, they're supposed to notify us, and if we can get a car up there, we'll get a car to our traffic.
Okay.
And I know we've talked to the county about it, if we can, if there's anything going on, if their car available, they'll help do. Because we even talked about if it's a bad enough situation that even like William Road, we're in there too, almost try to do traffic control there as well. But then again, if there's something going on, we'll probably be visited too. So
Yeah, I'm talking, I'm in a full park and you got tornado signs going off. I mean, someone needs to get there and override that light to get them people out of there. So, okay. Someone else has something? Yes, sir.
I sent a part of an email earlier, right before the meeting about, we talked about the Run Road, somebody put up no trespassing signs. And today I got an email from the HOA management company saying there's some developers out there threatening to close off the roads with barricades. We got to figure out who that is and let them realize they can't do that. Take legal action to stop them when we can't stop. And our roads starting to be blocked off unilaterally through our subdivisions.
Yeah, I typed up the response and I was waiting to hit send until after the meeting. I just sent it right now. But from the description in the email, it sounds like that is actually the interior roads on the south end of the subdivision that are part of units 4, 5, and 6, which are actually being worked on by a contractor that we hired. So I'm not aware that anybody in Raintree that's affiliated with MS Rialto or Lennar or any of the different construction companies are on site there. So my guess is that it's our contractors that are telling people that for whatever reason. We're not closing the roads down.
Maybe we need to clarify with our contractors, but they're
I'll need to reach out to the Homeowners Association Management Company to make sure that that's the area, and then we'll ask EEI to go out to call the contractor and to make sure that they're communicating appropriately with the residents.
Make it clear, we don't pay people to create headaches for us.
Yes.
Just piggyback on that, it's not just red either. There's another street coming in, and I stopped to look, and I don't see a name even on the no trespassing sign. So it really is peculiar. I talked to stewards and they know nothing about it, right?
Any other additional business? Hearing none, we will adjourn into executive session for litigation. We will come out and act on Plan Commission items 1 and 3 and have additional citizen comments if anyone so chooses. regular session. And we'll take up Plan Commission number 1. So I will entertain a motion. Hold on, give me a minute. Entertain a motion to approve an ordinance approving a special use for a daycare center in Lot 6 of Kendall Crossing and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved. Second.
Comments, questions? Now we started discussing this a little bit, but as discussion is concluded, I will go for a vote. Roll call.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Bunkhauser.
Nay.
Dave.
Nay.
Nay?
Wilczewski.
Aye.
Teeling. Aye. Coe.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the First Amendment to the Planned Unit Development Plan for the Kendall Crossing Planned Unit Development for monument entryway signage and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute. I'll move. Comments, questions on this one?
We are requesting tabling of this item. The sign, we think that it might be under private ownership. The petitioner is trying to find documentation. The city is trying to find documentation too on that. And if not, then the parallel path we'll take is we'll create a license agreement that would be up for your consideration in a future meeting, which would allow them to then install the sign within the public right of way.
You had said sign, but I think you meant to say the island.
Yes.
The island is the question. Is it public or is it private?
I was under the impression that the entire island was without question in the public right-of-way, under public ownership, but that the footprint of the existing sign was retained under private ownership.
And that's the question that we've been going back and forth on, trying to determine if there was an exception to the dedication of that property.
So this is going to EDC. Back.
I think we were just looking to table it until the next city council meeting. So there's an EDC meeting in between now and then, so it could go there without delaying consideration.
Any other comments, questions? So where do you want it to go? EDC or city council?
I move to send it to EDC.
Then make the motion.
I just did.
Second. Roll call.
Coe second.
Mm-hmm.
Bunkhauser.
Aye.
Wilczewski.
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
Coe.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Colosimo.
Aye.
All right, lastly, we have citizen comments. Anyone wish to address the council for any reason? Ms. Sessich, an update on the per diems?
No. Well,
Why would you ask her?
Wasn't going to say anything, but as I'm over here stewing about the idea of the windmills actually being banned, I'll go on record saying that would be a bad idea. I think it's really short-sighted of us to talk about banning something like that. I think keeping those possibilities open for alternative energy ideas would be a really good idea. So